Everybody. Happy Thursday. Jennifer Ray is here. Bill McNichol's here. How are you all doing? Let's take a quick look out at the lovely lake. Oh, it's not working. Oh my goodness. Well, I guess the lake isn't working today. I turned it on, I plugged it in. I don't know why it's not working. It happens. Sometimes it happens. Let's look one more time. Let me see. Yep, we don't have any lake today. Sorry, everybody. No lake. Anyway, how are you all doing? Look who's here. Look at all these folks that are here. Chris Pritchard's here. Mary Richardson is here. Roy Frazier is here. Everybody knows to share. Uh-oh. Exactly. Ruh-roh. I don't know about you, but that whole discussion yesterday about all the ways that President Trump is going to use his minions to throw the election into doubt really upset me yesterday. So I'm in a little bit better mood today, and I hope you are too. It's and by the way, I'm going to Bowling Green tonight. If those of you are aware of it, there's a event there called Rock the Vote. I'm going to be going to that tonight. As soon as I finish doing this, I'll be driving down the road to Bowling Green. If you're there, you probably know about it. Have a look for it, Rock the Vote. I think Amy McGrath is going to be there. So we're looking forward to seeing everybody. Jim Porter is here. Jim, do us a favor and share this, everybody. Let me straighten my collar. I'm a little bit casual today because it's going to be outdoors. It should be a beautiful night. Yes, the governor of Michigan is safe. That's one of the things we're going to talk about today. We're also going to have two guests. You know them, you love them. Larry and Mike, the two Curmudgeons. Let's get a look at them real quick. There they are. You know them, you love them. And let's see, I'll try and get them to fit on there. But Larry and Mike are going to be here in a few minutes. We're not sure what they're going to talk about. They are curmudgeons in the best way. Everybody's saying hi to each other. This is great. Well, let's do our homework. Let's do our work. Here we go. Here's the numbers. Of course, the numbers keep increasing because we don't really have a plan yet. And notice, you know, we got 30, what is it? How many millions? 331 million people in our country. Wow. You know, anyway, 48,715 new cases. Every day there's over 40,000. And India is going to catch us here. But of course, notice again, look all the way to the right. India is something like 4 times the size of us. Bigger than 4 times the size. So, you know, not surprising that they would be having a tough time. Let's have a look. We're looking at the top states in the United States. Texas is doing its best to catch California. Boy, they have more deaths. Florida's actually got more deaths. Florida's got more deaths than today than Texas. So these areas are really getting out of control. I've just gotten a text from Mike and Larry. And guys, you should be on commenting on Facebook. Their texting gets to be pretty funny this in the mornings. They text with me every morning. All right, let's move on. Looking at Kentucky, and bear in mind, Kentucky has 4.4 million people and 926 new cases. Yesterday, 5 new deaths. Obviously, all of this is tragic. Why is this being left to the states? I just still don't understand that. I get it. We have a president who does not want to take responsibility for anything ever, but There we go. Okay. Going back to some numbers, here's one. We've been looking at this. This is from Johns Hopkins by way of nakedcapitalism.com. If I could get you all to do one thing, it would be to check in on nakedcapitalism.com and just get used to their standpoint. Anyway, notice that we are well and truly starting a third wave within the first wave. It's an unmistakable rise in all regions is what is said right there. Now, let's look at this. This is comparing South Asia and Southeast Asia to the United States. The little bump all the way to the left, that is China. That is China. How do you like that? That's just incredible. I have one more thing I wanted to show you that I'm not sure if I can find it. Let's see. I have found it because I didn't get it placed properly, but we'll look at it now because this is good news for Democrats. Just a few days ago, this race was very, very stable. And, it's sat at something like 278 forever for Joe Biden. Now it's up to 290. Last week, I think it was in the 280s. So the comment here, this is once again from Naked Capitalism, is that once they would say the election is no longer static. Let's see, who moved to number 2? Who is that? NE. Somebody help me. Who's NE? Anyway, Nebraska? No. Not possible. Anyway, they moved to toss up to leans Democratic. Maybe it is Nebraska. Oh, I see what it is. It's Nebraska District 2. So that's interesting because it must be that Nebraska awards proportionally their votes. So anyway, that's good news. Big story today. This is from the Occupy Democrats page. Originally it was reported that there were 6 people behind this plot, this right-wing white supremacist type group, MAGA wearing hats and all that. It's now 12 people, and that's pretty extreme. And let's see. The alleged plot involved reaching out to members of a Michigan militia, according to a federal affidavit filed Thursday. Quote, several members talked about murdering tyrants or taking a sitting governor, an FBI agent wrote on the affidavit. The group decided they needed to increase their numbers and encouraged each other to talk to their neighbors and spread their message. Not very bright. Not very bright. Among the complaints, I love this. Among the complaints recorded by federal informants, the plotters were very upset that Governor Whitmer had closed gyms, which she did because of their obvious high potential to generate deadly super spreader events. Wow. Okay, a little bit more detail. At the time, Donald Trump began brewing today's insurrection against the states of Michigan, Virginia, and Minnesota. A Georgetown University constitutional law professor opined that Trump's tweets weren't just awful, but they violated federal law against inciting insurrection. It's an echo of the Second Amendment remedies rhetoric of the 2010 midterm. 2018. Is that right? 2010? I think President Trump talked about Second Amendment. You do Second Amendment, folks. Anyway. Well, it's time to call. I think it's time to call our special guests. Who shall we call first? Let's see. Who have I got setting up first? Let's call Larry Schwartz first. See if we can get him on the phone.
Hello, Hank.
Larry Schwartz, how are you doing?
I'm doing very well today. Thank you.
We're looking at a lovely picture of you on the left and Mike on the right. And you have your own kind of graphic.
I hate to start an argument this early in our conversation, but I'm going to quibble about a wonderful pic or whatever you call it.
Well, you sent the picture, so I can't be blamed for this.
It's the best there is. I've actually taken 2 or 3 pictures in my entire life that were any good, and by good I mean that don't reveal what I actually look like.
Well, I think you look just fine, and explain to everybody
Well, I've
why
gotten used to it.
you've gotten used to it. Well, explain to everybody the beard. Can you explain? Because the beard is really getting out there.
Well, I typically grow a beard every winter, usually from about November 1st to April 1st, because I spend a great deal of my time outdoors, especially even in the wintertime, and scraping the skin off your face on a regular basis and then going out in the cold is not a good idea. So typically, I shave the beard off around April 1st.
Right.
This year, I decided that that the beard, which I have to look at in the mirror almost every day, is a reminder of who's living in people's house in Washington, D.C. And so I have decided not to shave my beard again until, and I guess I'll use the nice liberal criteria for this, until Trump is gone from the political scene.
Well, when
actually,
you say,
what I usually say when I'm being impolite is, I'm going to shave it off when he dies.
when we say his name, we have to do this.
Well, I express that when I'm writing in print. I express that by not capitalizing his name, which I haven't done for almost 4 years. So,
well, hey, look, we got to get Mike on the phone. Let's grab him and
okay,
say hi to him, and then we'll get the two of you going. Give me a moment.
Your listeners may consider that a threat.
It is a bit of a threat. Let's see if he picks up.
Good afternoon.
Mr. Tederick, how are you?
I'm good. I'm a little tired. The tractoring always wears me out.
Tractoring wears you out. I thought a tractor was a labor saver.
Well, I guess it would have been a lot harder to have done it all myself or done it with horses, but it's not, just sitting on the couch with the game console.
Oh, so you don't have an air-conditioned cockpit for your tractor?
Well, hey, that would be nice. Yeah.
Yes.
Radio.
All the real farmers have a GPS-controlled tractor, so they can watch TV while the tractor, goes back and forth on its own. So I guess neither of us are real farmers.
No, not real. I don't even have my own satellite, so hell,
Right.
I'm nobody.
Well, I have a question for you all. Have you all been aware of the recent developments with the story about Governor Gretchen Whitmer from Michigan was a victim of a plot, apparently, that the FBI busted up, of a right-wing militia group was going to kidnap her. Have you heard this?
I did read about this earlier, and just a few minutes ago, I actually saw a picture of one of those guys at the scene of his arrest. And I will say that she would have been in real danger if this guy had fallen on her.
They were what? Motivated by, they wanted to liberate the people from the onerous burden of wearing masks, or what was the deal?
Well, one of their big complaints.
I think apparently they were responding to Trump's tweet of a few weeks ago where he said, "Liberate Michigan," in quotes and a couple exclamation points. So I think they were taking some direction from the top.
Yeah, and they were also very much upset that she had closed gymnasiums.
Oh, boy.
Well, as I said to my wife a few minutes ago, you can count the number of successful bank robberies in history on one hand, and every bank robber thinks he or she is going to be the one who gets away with it. And apparently that's the same sort of thinking that these guys were using.
Who
they were going to
ran?
kidnap the governor and take over the state house and live happily ever after.
They were going to ransom her to Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer. How did that work? Did they have a plan for the ransom?
Let's say I think that the plan will be successful in some sense, either in that none of them will have to pay rent or buy food for the next several years.
Gosh, man, that's some thinking there. That is some thinking there.
Socialism.
Yeah.
Well, I also wanted to ask, remember last time you guys were on, we kvetched a little bit about Donald Trump's debate performance. And Larry, you mentioned that you had watched playback of bits of it, but you commented you hadn't watched the whole thing. And you got criticized by someone named Vonda. I don't see Vonda here right now. Vonda, if you're here, check in, please.
Well, I would like to say hello to Vonda.
Okay. Well, Vonda gave you some hell.
Well, I deserve it, but not for that.
Can say that again.
But this week, week I'm quite prepared. I was motivated by Vonda's comment, and so even though I still don't own a TV, I was able to listen to the debate last night and didn't miss any of it. I've seen a lot of stuff today on the internet about who won, and to be honest, I'm not really sure who won the actual debate, but there is no question that the fly won the internet.
No question. No question. The fly definitely won the internet. And what do you do in that circumstance? I mean, it seems to me you take at least a couple of shots at it.
You mean what should Pence have done?
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure he would have had he known, but he hasn't felt anything in that area of his body for many years, so I'm sure he wasn't aware that the fly was on his head.
He also apparently had a pink eye. He apparently had some sort of a blood vessel had burst in his left eye.
He had some wicked looking eyes. I mean, if you could subtract those eyes from Pence, implant them in your next, Star Wars villain, that would be perfect. I was scared, and he didn't really look healthy. But I digress. I shouldn't say that, I guess. But yeah, his eyes were hard.
Well, I've had a blood vessel burst in an eye, and I don't even know what it's related to, unless it's self-inflicted, I suppose, by too much indulging in spirits, I suppose. But I've had that happen that just out of nowhere suddenly. So we shouldn't really criticize him for that. But not noticing the fly, did he notice the fly? You're saying he didn't.
No, I don't believe he did, but I want to be clear. I'm not criticizing Mike Pence. I'm ridiculing him.
Ah.
I think distinction. There is. I think he's somewhat beneath criticism.
Wow.
Yeah, I gotcha.
If you know anything about recent Indiana politics, one of the reasons Mike Pence became the vice presidential nominee and then was elected president through a distortion of our democracy is that he was so unpopular in Indiana that he had no prospects of being reelected. There were several events in Indiana related to drug use and a HIV outbreak in southwest Indiana that led to his extreme unpopularity, but people of Indiana were happy to see him leave and go somewhere else.
He did say he was surprised to have wound up being vice president. So
I forget the name of the town, but I remember that they had an outbreak of AIDS, of HIV, and they had I guess prostitutes that were using needles. And did Pence shut down the needle program?
The needle exchange.
The needle exchange.
There were some some other things too, policy wise. But yeah, he shut down the needle exchange. And,
This was Austin, Indiana, I think is the name of the city.
Yeah, I think it's Brown County,
Which is
but
beautiful,
it's in that area.
It's
yeah,
a beautiful
exactly.
area.
Little Switzerland.
Yeah, it's absolutely gorgeous. And driving through there during fall, right about now, it must be just gorgeous to drive through Brown County. But,
much more gorgeous since Mike Pence doesn't live there anymore.
Austin. Well, so, Mike Pence appears to be the new face after President Trump. It appears that he will be the new face of the Republican Party, perhaps. That's one of the things they've commented on this, that it'll be Mike Pence going forward.
Well, we can only hope. Yeah, let's. Yeah, I'm for that.
Mike, do you have something?
I mean,
to
they're
comment?
morally bankrupt, so they may as well be intellectually bankrupt as well.
Oh my goodness, Mike Tederick, do you have anything you want to add to that?
I'm enjoying Larry's not criticism but ridicule. Yeah, I think Mr. Pence shows a lot of skill. He would be my pick if I was in the gutter and a Republican and wanted a leader. I don't see why not.
Well, I do want to get a little bit serious for a second. And Mike, you and I had a serious conversation early today. It was only an hour long, but we touched on several subjects. But one of them was that this is such an unusual time that's unprecedented, even for those of us that are as old as the three of us are. This is such an unprecedented time that it's tough to feel secure. It's tough to make plans. It's tough to figure out where this is all going. So do you have any thoughts on that, Mike?
Well, that's a broad topic, but it's spot on. It's I think everyone is experiencing trauma and disorientation and distress over our national politics. I keep in my own mind posing it as, I'm looking for a champion. I'm looking for somebody that I can really feel like speaks for me and protects the things that I value. And I'm just not seeing it. And when you feel under attack and you can't find a protector, that's a stressful place to be.
It is indeed. And by the way, after we finish, I can't play this and have you all hear it, unfortunately, but I'm going to play a clip of, who's the guy at MSNBC, who's a former Democrat, worked for the Democratic Party. Oh, Lawrence O'Donnell. And the basic idea of this clip I'm going to play is that you have to convince whatever party you're part of that you want to change. So if you're a Democrat and you want the Democrats to change, you have to let them know that you may not vote for them. Otherwise, they feel like they don't have to pay attention to you. And this applies to both parties. So that leads into something that is near and dear to both of your hearts, which is the idea that rural America, farmers in particular, but rural America generally, has been ignored by both parties for quite some time.
Well, you got that right. Rural America is suffering. Working class America is suffering and misunderstood, and isn't really seen or recognized by our political leadership. And that's an awful feeling. That's an awful place to be, and it engenders a lot of angst and really animosity, I think, here in the heartland towards a lot of our politicians, and I'm afraid particularly our politicians on the left who are worse in their ignoring of the needs and feelings of rural America. They're worse than the Republicans.
You know, this is one of the points, is that by deciding that they couldn't win in a lot of rural districts, it meant that Republicans didn't actually have to do anything. It meant that they could talk about social issues, which cost very, very little in terms of effort. They just agree with certain viewpoints. And with the amount of the leverage that we have in the Senate as rural Americans, we got 37% of the Senate represents rural districts, 25% of the country in population, but 37% of the Senate. We should already have rural broadband. You know, corn should already be $10 a bushel.
Yeah, the politics.
Well,
go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, going back to your original question and your suggestion about being serious for a moment. Obviously, if I could predict the future, I'd have made a lot of money in the stock market and won a lot of money at Keeneland and Churchill Downs over the last several years. So I can't predict the future, but I'm going to make a prediction today that I feel relatively confident about, and that is if the election goes as the recent polls suggest that it's going to, and Trump loses by a significant margin, at least in the popular vote, it will be a matter of days before Republicans begin disowning him. They will. You will hear phrases like, "He wasn't actually a real Republican," or "He was never a real conservative." And I think you're going to hear a great deal of that from Republicans, from Mitch McConnell on down. It will take quite a while to filter down to the street level Republicans, but it eventually will. So I feel pretty confident in that prediction, and we'll see how that plays out. But I think that the Republicans will disavow Trump and Trumpism for some period of time. I think it's a safe bet to predict that if Joe Biden wins the election, then Republicans will almost immediately go back to worrying about the deficit.
Oh, that's guaranteed.
Which they have literally blown out of the realm of reality over the last 4 years. When Trump took office, the national debt was at $19.9 trillion, and as of a few days ago, when I looked, it was $25.6 trillion, which is 33% increase. So, nothing that the Republicans said 4 years ago or 4.5 years ago that they stood for has really guided much of their policy making. And I think that they'll revert to the mean or the norm within minutes after the election is over.
I think that's right. I think that's absolutely right.
When will this change of heart occur vis-a-vis Mr. Trump's declaring the election is rigged and that he in fact won? Are they going to let us all suffer through weeks of unease and distress, or will this? You're saying this will be immediate?
Well,
what will they do about it, Mr. Trump?
The Bible says that the tribulation period will be 3.5 years. I think in our case it's going to be 78 days because there's 78 days from November 3rd till January 20th. And I do think it's going to be a difficult period because unless something happens to him, unfortunate, like a relapse of the virus or whatever, he is still going to be president for 78 days. He still does have his hands on the levers of power and, the nuclear arsenal as well. And he can do quite a lot of damage. And I think that this is not a prediction. This is an opinion. But I think that his attitude towards the country itself will be that we never deserved to have a wonderful leader like him, and that his followers, as loyal as they were not loyal enough. And I think he's going to be looking to do some significant amount of damage to the country itself, economically, socially, and politically. How much the Republican leadership is going to be willing to allow that to take place, again, from Mitch McConnell down, is kind of an open question. We'll see if once they realize that he has lost, will they still, be paving the way for his every whim, as they've done for 4 years, nearly 4 years now. So I think that the 78-day transition period is going to be a rough patch for the country.
Hank, when the job offers start coming in for Larry as commentator and prognosticator extraordinaire, I'm his agent, and I'm only taking 20%, but just refer them all to me. That's
really fair, I think.
I think, Larry, you said that's spot on. That all sounds pretty good to me.
Well, we're pretty bad. Sounds pretty bad.
I was going to say it's good for some values of bad, maybe.
Right. Okay. Well, look, guys, I've got to go. I have to head down the road to Bowling Green. I have an actual outdoor event. I'm sure we'll all be wearing masks, but we're going to be outdoors. A bunch of candidates are gathering, including a doctor who has driven from Idaho, and he's rented a truck, and he's got a big display because he hates Mitch McConnell so much. So it's going to be quite a thing. I'll have some pictures to share with you all later. But thank you both for being here, and I hope you'll come back. I really appreciate and curmudgeon is a compliment, by the way.
Well, yeah, I took it as such. And if you're in Bowling Green, you see any really good deals on Corvettes. I've been looking for one since 1963.
All right.
And then if you get a chance, say hello to Don and Phil.
I will look for Don and Phil. I'll certainly do that.
Well, thank you, gentlemen. Thank you so much.
Doctor's name. I need a good doctor.
You need a good doctor.
Well, yeah, with the state of healthcare, I don't have a doctor.
Oh, so. You don't? Well, we'll have to talk about healthcare next time.
No.
Well, maybe, yeah. Okay, well, hopefully you guys will be back next week with more complaining, more illumination, more observation, more ridicule, more putting things in their place.
It's a bottomless well.
Okay. Well, thank you all so much, and I will talk to you all later.
See you, Hank. See you, Mike.
See you, Larry. Bye.
Well, that wasn't much fun. I do want to show you this video because I think it's important. This is Lawrence O'Donnell, and Lawrence O'Donnell, who's, I guess he's still on MSNBC. I don't generally watch MSNBC, but this is a video of him talking about if you really want the Democratic Party to change, or the Republican Party, whatever the party is. And this is what we may have to do, because neither party has been serving rural America. We may have to be loud enough that whichever party comes up with the goods in terms of taking care of people who work, inequality is just out of control. And, I'm going to say this carefully, but if I wouldn't be running if there weren't these problems that were being ignored, I wouldn't bother. In fact, a lot of us would be a lot better off if the country were being run properly, and had been. But for decades, we've been letting too many people slip through the cracks. So anyway, here's Lawrence O'Donnell.
If you want to pull the party, the major party that is closest to the way you're thinking, to what you're thinking, you must show them that you're capable of not voting for them. If you don't show them you're capable of not voting for them, they don't have to listen to you. I promise you that. I worked within the Democratic Party. I didn't listen or have to listen to anything on the left while I was working in the Democratic Party, because the left had nowhere to go. if you want to.
So I think you get the point. That clip, by the way, repeats. I'm not sure why, but that's the point. We have to hold our parties responsible to. Now, maybe it doesn't have to be that way, but at the moment, that's the way it is. That we've got to get the attention. We in a rural America have got to get the attention, hopefully, of the Democratic Party, and that'll be my role. If I'm fortunate enough to be elected, that'll be my role, is raising that issue, that rural America is the key to bringing America back into balance, bringing all this imbalance, this social and financial inequality back under control. I think this happens in rural America. And if we strengthen rural America, guess what? It's going to be good for the rest of the country as well. So anyway, thank you all for being here. I'm getting ready to head down the road. Like I say, I'm going to be going to Bowling Green to be part of the event. And if you get down there, it's called Rock the Vote. You can find it, Rock the Vote on Bowling Green. You can find it on Facebook. Thank you all for being here. We're getting angry, but we know we use our anger to focus ourselves, to get our determination and our courage together. All right. Thank you all. See you tomorrow.